Last week, I had 3 words for us to remember. Do you guys remember what those words were? My cup, His goodness, and overflow. Yeah, that's right. Today, I've got 3 more words for you. You'll find out what they are in a second. But first, I need some volunteers for a demonstration. We're just going to put this up because it gets really hot up here. So this isn't the demonstration. I actually have Are we able to turn some air on? Because it will get warm in here for sure. Yeah. I've actually asked them in advance, can we get Alan and Jay up here? Yes. We are going to have a little bit of an arm wrestling competition. Father and son. Let me get some chairs for you. I don't know if you can see on their faces, there's a bit of like sweat and some nerves that are going to be happening. This is every father's worst nightmare, isn't it? When a son gets older and stronger and you're just wondering, is this going to be the time that he beats me? And this is sons like what they hope for their whole life. Is this going to be the day where I can beat my father? And there's just this tension because the pride of a father, he doesn't want to lose to his son. He doesn't want to be weaker than his son, you know? And the hope of a son is he wants to be stronger than his father. All right, so do you guys need a countdown? All right, let's get your arms ready. Okay, here we go. Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? 3, 2, no. We're not going to do it. No. Go have a seat. Go have a seat. No, I know a lot of people are interested to know who's going to win. Who's going to win? You can do this on your own time, but I'm not going to try to embarrass anyone when I'm up here. Only my family. No. But it's interesting. We're just going to sit and contemplate the idea of competition. We live in a world we're geared towards competition. Pretty much everything we do is a competition. When we go to school and we're competing against classmates, against boards. When we go to into business, where we have competition. Either our business has competition, or we have competition at work to try to excel, to move up the corporate ladder, kind of thing. I actually asked an AI generator, can you please give me an image that encapsulates the idea of competition, kind of thing. So feel free, since it's AI generated, you'll see there's a couple people like missing legs or arms and ladders that don't match up. Go ahead and be distracted by it now and notice the mistakes, and then we can move on to the point of this. But we live in a world where we have these phrases. You would have heard it, survival of the fittest. The strong are going to get ahead. In the corporate world, we have climbing the corporate ladder. We're competing against other people to accelerate up to a higher position within a company. More social competitiveness, keeping up with the Joneses. Someone gets something, so we need to get something. Like this is competition to at least be even, but ideally be ahead. We are driven to be strong. No, that's not quite right. Actually, it's not even about being strong, it's about being stronger. We're driven to be rich. No, that's not actually even right exactly. We're driven to be richer. We're driven to be good. No, that's not even enough. We have to be gooder. Better, for sure. It's like this competitiveness of the world has ingrained us, that we are set against each other. And for me to move ahead, to get ahead, I have to get ahead over you. Because there's only two, we're geared towards, you've heard it, like we want to outdo one another. We have to be better than, richer than, smarter than, stronger than. We're geared towards this. This is the culture, this is the pressure that we're put under. Because there's 2 types of people in this world. There's winners and there's losers. There's victors and there's victims. There's the strong and there's the weak. There's us and there's them. There's the conquerors and the conquered. That's the first word for tonight, conqueror. We're geared towards this mindset that we can't afford to be less than or lose. We have to win. We have to conquer. Do you feel like? What do you feel like? Do you feel like you're a conqueror? Do you feel like you're a victor? Do you feel like you're a winner? Do you feel like you're strong? Or do you feel like you're a loser or weak, victim or conquered? Do you drive to be the winner, the victor, the strong? I think we feel all of those at different times. Sometimes we feel on top of the world, sometimes we feel under it, for sure. But our world pressures us that we have to be one of those playing that game. But God calls us to something different. He doesn't call us to compete against one another. He doesn't call us to have victory over one another. But He does call us conquerors. Actually, in Romans 8, He says, you are more than conquerors. Does that mean life won't suck sometimes? No. Does it mean it won't hurt sometimes? No. Does it mean it won't be filled with struggles? No. Does it mean you're better than other people? No. Does it mean you're superior to other people? No. You're not conquerors because of how strong you are. You're a conqueror because of how strong He is. You're not a conqueror because of how good or righteous you are. You're a conqueror because of how good and holy He is. You're not a conqueror because of the power, the wealth, the status that you've accumulated. You're more than a conqueror because of His grace to you. Being more than a conqueror doesn't always mean you feel like you're always a winner. It doesn't mean that life isn't hard. But it does mean no matter what you face, height, depth, angels, demon, sickness, famine, sword, evil, whatever is set against you, you can be victorious against it. Might not look like you're winning today, but if you faithfully trust and follow Jesus, He will bring you through to the end. Now one day, after you've gone through all there is to go through here, He might lay upon your head the victor's crown. He might pull you into His embrace and tell you, well done, faithful servant. Conquering doesn't mean beating each other or winning against each other. It means holding on faithfully to our God all the way through to the end. We are conquerors because He conquered all for us and called us into His victory. Now, how did He do it? Did He do it by coming to earth and dominating humanity, enslaving everyone, bringing everything into Him? No. He came to earth, offered His life in submission and obedience to God. And that's the second word today, submit. Submit is kind of a bad word. Because we don't like it. Because if I'm going to submit, it means I'm going to put someone in a position that has control or authority or power over me, and they might not have my best interests at heart. Submit comes, we've got some boxers. I don't know if anyone's done like UFC or any wrestling. Maybe we should have a volunteer. Get another father-son wrestling match. And they go at each other until one of them submits. One of them loses. Because that's the way of thinking that we're conditioned towards. To submit is to lose. But for Jesus, to submit was to win. That's how He gained victory. I've got my sons probably eager to have a bit of a wrestling match when we get home later on. No? You're keen too? Let's go. Oh, In our youth class on Sunday mornings, we've been studying a passage coming out of Ephesians. And in chapter 4, he's talking about like you are people of light. You're no longer people of darkness. You don't have a lifestyle that's affiliated with deeds of darkness. When your speech, you're no longer speaking dark things. You're speaking light things, truth and love. And then also light has a bearing on your relationships. And he highlights 3 different relational dynamics, putting our boys on the spot. Ezekiel, Jay, Caleb. What are the 3 relationship dynamics that he highlights? Marriage, parenting, family, yes. Employment. Masters and slaves, but maybe in our context it's more employers, employees, or as Zeke said, mum and him, yeah. No, but your relationships change. And he talks in the key to a light relationship. It's found in chapter 5, verse 21. Submit to one another. Now, it's not submission. He's not saying lose to one another. I think he's calling us to something different, to a different standard. I know I've shared this with you before, but the idea of Christian submission isn't losing. It's not weakness. It's not powerlessness. It's not inferiority. I don't know if I said that right still. It's something different. Submitting isn't merely lowering yourself as much as it is lifting the person you're submitting to. Husbands, wives, parents, children, employers, employees, all parties are called to submit to the other. Lift the other up so that their agenda becomes your agenda. Their success becomes your success. It's not they win, I lose. It's they win and I win. Everyone wins in submission. We don't lose when other people win. Last word, love. I know this is familiar, but love has power to it. There are 4 words that we see in Scripture or in Greek that are all translated love. And you guys know them. There's eros. We hear like erotic, and that's a romantic love, an erotic love. There's also phileo, and that's more of a brotherly or a kindred or a friendship love. You don't see this in Scripture, but there's another word, storgia, and that's a familial love. Parents, children, siblings. But then there's another word, and that's the word that is fundamental to Christian love. It's the word agape. And it's not a love, an emotion you feel towards someone. It's not just a desire to engage and connect with another party. It's actually a love that is unconditional, that is selfless. It's a love that doesn't look for what I might gain from this engagement, but how I might seek your highest good, your blessing, your goodness. It's not self-seeking. And that's the love that we are called to. Not just a description of an emotional connection, not merely a feeling you have towards another person. It's the intentional action expressed to bring blessing and goodness to another person. 1 John 3:18 says, "Dear children, let us not love in word or speech, but with action and truth." It's an active love. That's the love that God showed us as he actively exited heaven, entered into earth, and gave his life for us. It's the love that God calls us to express towards him, not just saying things, but to gear our life towards actively following and loving him. It's the love he's called for us to express towards our neighbors, our families, and even our enemies. It's the love we have towards others. This world conditions us to seek after our own self, look after number one. If I don't look after myself, who's going to do it? And that creates that dynamic that I then need to set myself up to win, even if it's at the expense of you, or my colleagues, or my neighbors. I need to win. I need to look out for number one. God calls us instead. He says, no, you are conquerors, not because I want you to dominate. You are conquerors because I want you to draw into me. And I have overcome everything, and I will see you through the end. Kind of hoping that reminder kind of fills our bucket a little bit. That goodness helps us feel more confident with the difficulties that we're facing. Calls us the key to conquering, the key to our relationships is submission, whether it's to your spouse, whether it's to your children, whether it's to your employer or your employees. You put yourself second and put them first. Bring success to them. Even if they're a good spouse, even if they're a bad spouse, even if they're a bad employer, that's what the love is, unconditional. Because you're not acting towards them because of what they deserve. You're acting towards them, you're loving towards them because of what God has done for you. Competition isn't all bad, though, actually. Men are more naturally inclined towards competition. There's just something about us. That's why we're not as good as relationships as women. Women are far better because they don't always feel that same competitiveness against each other, but men maybe do. But competition isn't all bad. And actually, Paul writes in Romans chapter 12, he says, yeah, okay, let's outdo one another. But let's outdo one another in showing love. The real challenge is not about winning at the expense of others. It's not about holding back in showing love towards all those around you. I'm going to end this with a story. And I'm going to read it to the kids. So, if I can have the kids, and I think Livia's going to go get them, we're going to read a story. And it's a kid's story, but I think it beautifully communicates this idea of the power we have as conquerors, not that we are competing against and trying to beat other people, putting them in their place, but instead actually as conquerors, the power that we have to lift other people, to fill other people, that we all might be filled by the goodness that God expressed towards us and that He calls us to express towards other people as well. And so I'm going to read this story. I'll wait for the kids to come on. Hey guys, come on up. I'm going to read you a story this morning. If you guys want to sit on the ground, do you do this at school? You guys have stories at school? Hey, you guys, you can sit here. You don't have to sit up on the stage if you don't want. You guys can follow along on screen as well. This is a book called How Full Is Your Bucket? Have any of you seen this before? Yeah. Okay. All right, here we go. So it's called How Full Is Your Bucket? Felix was putting one of the last blocks on his tower when his little sister came in. I want to build with you, she said. Felix scowled. Go away. You're too little. I'm big. Stay back. You'll knock it over. I can be very careful. Go play with your baby toys, Anna. Oh, Anna was mad. Whack! She knocked it over. Grandpa! Grandpa shook his head. Felix, you just dipped from your sister's bucket. Like everyone else, Anna has an invisible bucket. When it's empty, she feels bad. But when it's full, she feels great again. Didn't you ever notice your own bucket? Invisible bucket? Sometimes Felix couldn't quite tell when his grandfather was joking. Do you guys have buckets? Yeah? We'll see what happens. The next morning, when Felix woke up, there it was, a small gray bucket floating above his head. Do you see that? There's a bucket there. Yeah, there's water in it, huh? It looks like it's half full right there. Yeah. When Felix came down to have breakfast, his mum was in a hurry. I've got a meeting this morning, and it's almost time to go. Anna, sit still. She's trying to do her hair, huh? Oh, and there's Felix going to get some cereal for breakfast. Felix slipped, and choco wheats scattered across the floor. Felix, yelled his mum. You should have used the stool to reach that. Felix could feel his bucket tip, and big invisible drips spill out. Drip, drip. Ha ha, Anna laughed as she crunched the cereal with her shoe. Drip. Get the broom and clean that up before you miss the bus, scolded Mum. With the school bus honking, Felix quickly swept up the choco wheats and grabbed the last blueberry muffin. But before he could even take one bite, Buster jumped up and grabbed the muffin from his hand. Drip. And then on the bus, hey, look at Felix's new backpack. My baby brother has one just like it. Drip. Then at school, look, his friends were saying, Felix. Drip. Another bigger kid. Watch out, shrimp. Drip. Then at school. It was still morning, and Felix's bucket felt almost empty. Look at him sitting in class with an empty bucket. As he watched his classmates walk into the room, he secretly hoped that they would trip and fall. That's what it feels like when you have an empty bucket. Felix slumped into his seat and waited for something else bad to happen. Mrs. Bumblenickel walked slowly up to his desk and handed him a paper. He could hardly bear to look. Felix, you wrote a wonderful story. Would you please share it with the class? Felix grinned and felt a big drop land right in his bucket. Drop. The Gigantosaurus Who Wanted a Pet by me, Felix. The class grew quiet. They laughed at all the right places and oohed at all the scary parts. When Felix finally read the end, everyone clapped, even Emily, who sat next to him and didn't usually like dinosaurs. Felix felt a whole shower of drops land in his bucket. Maybe the day wouldn't be so bad after all. Drop, 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 blink, plop. It's filling up. Oh, eating lunch, he got a note from his mom. Said, I love you. Drop. Team captains today are Veronica and Felix. Drop. In an art class, nice cow. It's a dog. Oh, well, nice colors there, Felix. Drop. Then another classmate. Cool laser ant backpack, Felix. Drop. By afternoon, Felix's bucket was nearly full. Ooh. And at recess, when he looked around, Felix suddenly realized that his grandpa was right. Everyone else had a bucket too. Oh, someone dropped papers. Let me help you. Drop. Drop. Here's your baseball. Catch. Thanks, dude. Drop. Drop. Hi, I'm Felix. First day? Yes, I'm Amir. Drop. Drop. The strange thing was that for every drop he helped put in someone else's bucket, he felt another drop in his own bucket. When Felix burst into the door after school, he shouted, "You were right, Grandpa. I do have a bucket, and I understand how it works." Then he saw Anna's torn doll. "Bad dog," he almost scolded, but then he thought, dogs might have invisible buckets too. "Your doll will be okay, Anna," said Felix. "Mum will fix her. But until then, do you want to help me build the tallest building in the world with my blocks?" And so they did. Yeah, it's a pretty good story, huh? Do you guys have buckets? You sometimes, when not great things happen, feel drops going out, you feel emptier. And then when good things happen, they feel fuller. That's cool. Did you catch when he stumbled upon the secret to buckets that when you put a drop in someone else's bucket, you actually have a drop put in your bucket as well? Did you catch that? No? That's true. We all have buckets. Sometimes we feel full because of all the good things we experience, and sometimes we feel empty because of the bad things we experience. But we all can help put drops in other people's bucket, and as we do that, we end up with drops in ours too. Did you like that story? All right, good. Thank you for listening so well. You can go back to your seats. I think we'll do Coins for Christ later on, okay? So go back to your seats. Did you like that story? Yes. If you want to borrow this book and read it with your grandkids or neighbor kids, just come and hit us up and we can share it with you. You might not feel full. You might not feel like you're overflowing. You might not feel like a conqueror that God has called you to be, but you are. Nothing in this world is greater than Him who has victory over all things. Let that fill your bucket and help you face whatever you're dealing with. You might feel like you're competing against the people in your family or at work, your neighbors. You're not. You're playing a different game. The encouragement is to submit. Fill their bucket. Bring them success. And remember our call. Just as we were loved unconditionally, we are called to love unconditionally as well. If you need some prayers, you need some encouragement, then come and talk to me afterwards, and we can definitely give you that. Thank you.